Welcome to the Hypnocafe Podcast with your hosts, Dan Goyette and Frank T. Rex, spanning the globe, covering the world of hypnosis, and on the air. Hey guys, it's Dan Goyette. We are here on the air today with I almost said the wrong one. This is the Hypnocafe Podcast. I almost said the other podcast that we've got going on here. That would have been a horrible mistake. But as you know, the Hypnocafe Podcast is brought to you by the Michigan Hypnotherapy Guild and the Hypno World Magazine. So right there's the link, guys, for you to head on over and subscribe to the Hypno World Magazine to be in the know in all the things happening in the field of hypnosis. So we're going to get that out of the way now that we've got our housekeeping stuff out of the way. We've got some great guests today. We have someone that's a little bit new to hypnosis, and I'm going to say her name and bring her on here in just a moment so that I don't get it wrong, but it's Danulle Aston, if I'm saying that right. Here she comes, guys. So 3, 2, 1, there she is. All right. So did I say your name right?
Absolutely not. It's Danulle Aston.
Oh,
you were so close.
I was so close. There was an A in it. It was so close.
There was.
Yeah. So today we are talking about building your practice. And we also have waiting in the wings who we're going to bring on here in just a moment, and to the supreme expert in that, Sandra Grace. So I wanted to get you guys together on this and kind of talk about it. So it's a really good, I know that you're all the way up there in the UP, as I can tell your picture's a little bit blurry right now. So you get that hit and miss internet up there, which is okay. So how long have you been in the game?
I opened my practice in March of 2020 and then was immediately shut down because of COVID. So I had a pretty rough start.
So, yeah, you were telling me that. And I thought, you know what, let's do this. But you've kind of come on lately. I have seen the videos, the branding, the stuff that you're putting out there. Your business card is on your Facebook page. So how is it going right now?
Right now, it's going really well. I think a lot of my issue getting up off the ground was just not understanding marketing. So I ended up taking Connie's strategic business plan course, and it opened my mind in to so many different ways to get myself out there, and also really kind of stepping into who I am as a hypnotist and being courageous enough to put myself out there. Whereas before I was playing it pretty small and safe. So I'm out there now.
All right. You know what? Speaking of branding, I think that's a perfect segue to bring on our next guest, and just a lovely person who has been influential in the art and business, of hypnosis, Sandra Grace. So here she comes, guys. So, and yeah, just really, Sandra, there you are.
Yeah, good to see you. Hi, everyone. Glad to be here today.
Hey, Sandra.
I actually met in Connie Jo Holmes' strategic business planning course, and so it's nice to see you again. I'm glad that you gave her a little plug.
You too.
I got off a call with the Hypno Goddesses. I don't know if you guys know, but I'm part of this fantastic mastermind, including Connie Jo Holmes, Karen Bird, Kelly Van Hoffenberg. I say her name wrong every time. And also Randy Light. And so we just came off that call. So I was just empowered by these amazing women I share life with. And I was speaking to how powerful that course was. So I'm glad you mentioned it. She, even though I have, as Dan said, extensive background in hypnosis and business coaching, and I train coaches and hypnotists and all these things, I took her course, and I feel like, first of all, it helps me to be a better instructor for my hypnosis clients and my coaching clients, because she has so many years in background in corporate America and understanding these sorts of things that she's so phenomenal at that. And also I get to meet awesome people like this beautiful woman you have here today. So thanks, Dan. Thanks for having me on, and thanks for having this place where our community comes together. We appreciate you and all you do to contribute to building our community. Thank you.
I try, even though some of us think it's a scam. When we get a hold of them, clearly it's just a scam. And I'm picking on Danielle right now. I called her to come out to the second Michigan Hypnosis Conference up in the UP at the Island Resort Casino. And she told me the story. She goes, well, that's got to be a scam. This is just somebody trying to get money out of me. I've never heard of the Michigan Hypnotherapy Guild or the Michigan Hypnosis Conference.
Never.
So she called me at the conference and said, hey, so this is a real conference, and can I come out? Is there still time? And I said, yeah, we're into our second day. Just come on out. We're not going to charge you. You don't have to pay for anything. Just come on out. So she came out and found that we were real.
You were exemplary
It was,
when it comes to building credibility.
It was so real.
So
I was really, I'd never heard of a Michigan Hypnotherapy Guild. I thought for sure it was a prank. And I Googled it, and it was a real thing. I was so glad that I came up, though. Completely changed my life. I've met so many incredible people.
And you know what? I will say, Sandra, I think you came to the second?
Unfortunately, I have not had the honor of being there. I had intended on joining you last year, and my mother's health took a turn, and I wasn't able to join you. And so I have not had the pleasure, but I hear phenomenal things from well-respected people in the community. So I believe firmly that it exists and that it is wonderful. I know you had some great keynote speakers and some really cool presentations last year. I heard only rave reviews.
Yeah, Connie actually was the keynote speaker.
I know, and she had a knife. So, I heard about this. There was a knife involved.
Yeah, well, she had to defend herself. She felt that she might have to defend herself from the guy running it because he's not quite right in the head. I've heard stories. He's a little off. He's talking to himself in the corner. It's weird. So
best conversations in the house right there.
Exactly. So let's talk about building your practice. I know that Sandra works with, let me get back on camera here, guys. I have a tendency to look at the screen like I'm talking to the people, so I have to apologize for that. But I do like to stay on camera because I am a professional at this. Okay. Yeah. So I know that Sandra works with a lot of people to build their practice. Right. So let's start with some of the mistakes that you see people making, Sandra.
Well, it's interesting because so I focus on coaching hypnotists and training hypnotists, and I do mentorship and also integrative coaches and energy workers. And one of the things I'll say is universally true of all these markets that I train and work with is that they're afraid to niche down. And so I guess giving another plug for the hypno goddesses for the mastermind I'm in, Karen Bird wrote a book years ago, the hypno niching, and I still have my students read it. I think it's brilliant to be able to feel confident about diving down into who do you want to spend your days with? Who do you want to hang out with? Who do you want to spend time? And when you think about your life and who you're how do you serve yourself? And when you think about the bigger impact and how do you want to serve others, it's so essential that you begin with yourself. And so, there's all these bullshit stories of, being selfish and making it all about you. And like, well, hell yeah, it's your life. It is all about you. And so as long as you're in this, meat bag moving around Earth School, right? This is your Earth School journey, and you get to decide what you enjoy. And it's my truth that when we're in service of ourselves, that we will in fact be in service of others. And so I think that, Karen does an incredible job, Karen Bird, in her hypno niching book and helping people. So the biggest mistake I see is people want to be everything to everyone. And they just want to be like, I'll work with anything. My technique is universal. I can help anyone, So I think that's like the biggest mistake that's out there is that people don't choose to drill down on what feels good. What do you want to do all day, every day? And also, I guess the second mistake is once we do, find our niche, right? This is our thing. This is what we do. We have a tendency to be like, well, this is how I must forever earn all my income to my last dying day, right? And that's absurd. Of course, there's you're going to expand, like Connie teaches us about these pillars that we have, right? And you're going to expand into other pillars. And therefore it's going to create opportunities for you to say, the more you niche down. So in my personal work, which I mostly teach and train people these days, but in my personal work, I spend a portion of my day working with millionaires and billionaires and helping them to level up their energies, manage their energy, grow their business. And so once I niche down in that market, that doesn't mean that if I wanted to, I could help one of them with smoking cessation or weight management or something like that, right? You can still tap into all the things I know how to do, right? If someone wants to journey into their future life, I can do that with them. So, I think we have this story that like, if we niche down, then that's it. That's all we do, And so mistake one, not choosing your niche, and then sort of mistake two, not being open to work with your clients in that niche in all aspects of their life.
Awesome. So what do you got? And now that we talked about that, Danielle, do you have a niche, Danielle, or are you just in, and I won't say that that's a bad thing, because I started out as general hypnotherapist. I think we all do. So if that's what you're doing, that is perfectly fine. So, but do you have a passion that you work with?
I do have a passion that I work with. Although I've niched down a little bit, but not as much as, I guess I'm just not ready to niche down more. But I love helping people learn to be their authentic self, because there's so many of us that are living for others and don't know what their life looks like if it's not on someone else's terms. So really helping people to tap into their inner self and be authentic and kind of illuminate what is blocking them from doing what they want to do and stepping into who they are at their core. That's what lights me up.
So,
well, and Danielle, too, the other thing is what we teach, we learn, right? And so as you do that more with your clients, don't you believe, it's my truth, that the more you do that, the more you discover your own passions, and the more you will naturally niche down, because as you're guiding and supporting everyone else every day, right? Then it becomes in your constant awareness that you get to do the same too. It's for you too, right?
So
absolutely. I found that when I first started, I had no idea who I was, and I was always trying to please everyone else. And I'm a classic people pleaser. And, as I'm working on myself, I'm helping others to do the same thing. So the things that I'm overcoming, I always seem to draw in the clients that I learn from them, they learn from me. And it's just amazing how the people come along and you grow together.
100%.
Absolutely. Now, Danielle, do you have a physical office? I keep messing with my mic. I got to stop that. That is like my worst habit. I'm like always adjusting it. But yeah, are you a physical office or are you 100% online?
I have a physical office at home. I also do online. Unfortunately, my internet went down. I know you're not going to believe this, Dan, but my internet went down out in the cornfield of Stevenson. And so I'm at the library in Menominee today. So, but yeah, I do in person. Also, I'll travel to people, like if they don't want to do the online and they're not too far away. I've gone an hour and a half away to meet with clients and stuff like that. And
that is so
I'm all over.
That is so funny you say that. When I first started, I did house calls for the geriatric community. I don't do that anymore, but they couldn't get to me. They were really looking for help. So I went to them. And I got out of doing that just because it was you had to bring all this stuff with me before I figured out. Sandra's going to laugh at me. Before I figured out how to use Bluetooth, I had a little CD player I took with me, and it was like 2012. And I just thought to myself, you know what? Do I look like a professional doing this? I'm walking through the door with this cheap little CD player and my, just personality per se. So that was weird. But you know what? In the UP of Michigan, I think that works. So
you got a lot of
does.
personality, and you're not going to show up light-handed. When you show up, you show up.
Yeah.
We're lucky to have you,
I
and so are
can
your clients.
somebody, I
I can
always tell
see you,
people
Dan, with like the boom box on your shoulder.
back in the day, yeah. That's why drive-by shootings were down in the 80s. It was hard to hit somebody with, a giant block in the thing there. So, but I always tell people that it's like, oh, the core, the authentic person. I always tell people, so at my core, I'm not a great guy. I was just like, when I was an underground fighter, that's what I did. Violence was a reflex for me. It took a long time and a little bit of therapy to get to the person that you guys are talking to today. I know Sandra's like, I can't believe that. I cannot see you hitting someone.
I absolutely can, and you have to remember I worked with a lot of UFC fighters, right? Early in my career, I worked with a lot of athletes, and so I can absolutely see that in you. I also see some I feel like you maybe came through with a little genetics for such things. It's possible.
Yeah, my family. You were either a bagpipe. You either played the bagpipes or you boxed, and
right.
I didn't have a lot of musical talent. But they were just like, all right, go get hit in the head. You'll be fine. It'll be all right. And so that was my grandfather. Is always talking to me about that. It's always, and let me not do that because people will be like, I think he just got possessed. So,
I love it when you pull out that dialect. It's one of my favorites. I was hoping it might happen today.
Yeah, I was raised in that. I thought everybody spoke like that till I got into the third grade. Hey, what up there, Vinny Brigance? One of the great guys out there. So,
Vinny!
yeah, until the third grade, I thought that's how everybody talked in America. I didn't realize, because you're a kid. You don't know, right? That's the way I was raised. But so let's talk about branding. I'm going to start with Sandra because when you guys said, you were talking about being authentic and putting yourself out there. Just this morning, I launched the podcast for the traveling hypnotist because, everybody asks me that, Dan, how do you afford? You're going here, you're going there, you're traveling, then traveling. How do you do that? And I believe some of them thought, well, Dan must be a holistic millionaire, and I'm not. But here's the kicker of it. Sandra will laugh at me. I actually had to fight against muscle memory to go, instead of saying, okay, we here at the Michigan Hypnotherapy Guild and we and the team, I had to go me. And it felt so unnatural just for that. So, and I know that you've helped guys with that, Sandra, like get over that hump and do that branding. So what are some of the tips and tricks? I shouldn't say tricks. It's not a trick. It's skill.
I think the tip is to go away from the tricks,
Mm-hmm.
And I know there's a lot of folks out there that have really trained with some big names, right? In our field, we have, Dan Kendall and Jason Lynette, and they've been training with some very famous people in these areas. And so certainly if you really want to look at the current models out there, like talk to those dudes because they know what's going on. What I can tell you I've been able to help people with is oftentimes, again, I work with a lot of high-end clients. So they already made their first million, or maybe they're pushing their first billion. What happens is that they, up until now, weren't clear on their own identity. So back to what Danielle is saying, like the answer is to really find their authentic self. And when we take an integrative approach, right? Like when you can't have me on a podcast without me using that word, right?
I know.
Integrative approach, and you look at your physical structural life and being and space and way of being in the world. When you look at your mental emotional truths and how you see the world and the filters through which you create your paradigms, when you look at your spiritual truth and how you see this Earth School journey, right? When you pull those together and you can get that clarity about who you are and who you choose to serve and who you choose to be here, then the branding is really simple. So one of the things that, it's not a new concept, but that I've recently been revisiting with my students is this idea that when you have a clear brand and you have confident, competent marketing, you'll never sell a day in your life.
Yeah.
you'll never sell. I can't tell you the last time I sold myself, or I sold my school, or I sold my service. Like, I can't tell you the last time I did that, because I got a lot of clarity about who I am and who I wish to serve here in the world. Right. And then I allow people, that are really enjoy it to do marketing for that. Right. And so, so this year too, Dan, I also had the opportunity. So I've been working under Integrative LifeWorks Inc., which is my online school and academy, for a long time. And I've been really developing the brand for Sandra Grace, right? Which is this high-end business coaching, right? Working with entrepreneurs. And I, after much contemplation, I decided that I was just going to call it that, Sandra Grace coaching, right? So I think that that's helpful. Now, if you want something that's going to be a legacy that you're going to sell, like Integrative LifeWorks Inc., right? Like, that's something that I can give away, or I can sell, or that can live beyond me, right? And so it depends on what your intention is. So when you look at these, pillars to your big vision and mission, right? When you're looking at these pillars, you may have some of them that support, something that will continue to live beyond you and what you do. And then some of them that might be specific to you, that you and only you can show up and do, right? And so, I think about some of the greats in hypnosis, like, dear friends of mine, Terry Stokes and Michael Johns, right? And their show, like, one or the other showed up for the show. They created a show in which anyone could show, and then they were able to gift it or sell it. I'm not sure how that works, to Lapine, right? And so that's like a good example of how you can have something that you create that could go on and on and on. Now, I don't know that someone could have taken over the Terry Stokes show had he chose to brand himself that way. Then it's the Terry Stokes show with Sandra Grace starring tonight, right?
Yeah.
Right. And so, so that's the thing to think about when you're establishing your brand. It's where there'll be multiple pillars to you and what it is that you share to people. And if there's only going to be one, then is it in service of yourself or others to have you be the brand? Or is it better that the intention or the niche be the brand? Right?
Exactly.
So those are two very helpful and wonderful ways to build brand and build your company once you have clarity about who you want to serve and what you want to do. And you might have multiple, as I do, right?
Oh, yeah. So, and I know that Danielle, if I'm saying that right, I think I just messed it up again. I'll get it right. So Life Spark Hypnosis, that's your brand. And that is your logo. So how did you come up with that?
It's Life Spark Hypnotherapy. And a part of my my journey was I was done. I had no purpose, no way forward in life anymore, due to an injury. And I ended up stumbling on hypnotherapy. I'd never heard of it in my life. And it was on YouTube. It was through Marissa Peer. And she did a hypnotize you through the screen kind of a thing. And it completely changed my perspective. It was incredible. And I told my husband, I'm like, when I get enough money, I am going to take her course and change the world. And that is exactly what has happened. I have used hypnotherapy to reignite that spark in my life. It was almost out. And hypnotherapy was that tool that lit me back up. And I've used it to heal my body physically, to heal emotional wounds, trauma, all the stuff that kept me small and scared and stuck, really. So that's why I branded myself Life Spark Hypnotherapy. And I want everyone to experience that same spark for life that I have now. I can't imagine not being here. And a lot of times I don't know where I'm headed or what I'm doing, but I am enjoying the ride and enjoying discovering who I am and who I am in all different aspects as well. So it's been a wild ride.
Yeah. I always say I never know if what I'm doing is right or wrong until I'm done doing it. So,
Yes.
I mean, yeah, that's why the conference always seems new every year, because I'm like, well, that was wrong. I got to fix it. What I did the year before. So I never know if it's right or wrong until I'm done doing it. You get to the end and there it is. So I do like your logo. Years ago, I had a logo for Houghton Lake Hypnosis Therapy Studios. It was like a person, and there was a kind of a leaves growing around it, and people seem to like that for growth. And then I left that logo behind for the guild when we incorporated. So, but Amanda Dodd found one of my original squishy ball brains that I used to give out, and it had that logo, and it made me think. I should say we, not I, we, the Therapy Guild, has come a long ways since that start. And it was one of those great things. I met people after people after people. And I met Sandra, and she talked to me and gave me advice. And I thought, okay, I'll follow that advice. And then I followed that advice, and it worked out really, really well. So, which is always good. You don't always know where you're going, right, guys? So that's what I'm saying. And it's just like little things. I know you've helped a lot of people. Nicholas Spone was one of your students, and
Sure.
yeah,
Yes.
so, or still is. So yeah. And I used to pick on him
Oh,
because, well, he had the greatest. I saw his webpage one day, and he had those great prayer hands. And I was joking with him at a conference one time. Yeah. And he goes, yeah, my prayer hands. So I was like, yeah, but you gave him that.
no, I mean, yeah, I am really blessed in attracting some incredible students into my life. And as you know, like I always hope that my ceiling is their floor. And Nicholas is a perfect example of that because he lifts me up and inspires me and teaches me all the time. But he's just one of my many students that are doing extraordinary things that I am so blessed to have brought them in my life. Because what we know is the same with clients or students. What we know is that they have a unique background and experience in life, right? And they have something to bring to us. And so when we constantly come in with the opportunity for ourselves to learn and grow in every session, right? Then we know that we're gonna show up in that authentic space where we can give and share and receive. And it is important that in this Earth School journey that we allow that space for it to be a giving and receiving space. When we block it or bottleneck it with the concept that it's one way, we're not supporting ourselves or others, because what we teach, we learn. And when we allow our students or our clients to teach us, then they're learning more deeply, right? And so I love that. I am honest to God. So they're my family, they're my tribe, whatever you want to call them. I have this amazing group of, I guess you call them former students, but they're always my students. They'll always be just like your children will always be your children, right? And they're also my teachers. They're also my teachers. Every one of them. I am better at what I do and better at how I serve because they were my student or my client, right?
Yeah, I do not have kids. I'm in a very serious relationship with a 75-inch 4K flat screen. We get each other. A lot of good communication going on there.
I
You know,
like it. I like
yeah,
it a lot.
I've been thinking about, it's like we get along really well, but I've been seeing this 85-inch model around, so kind
Oh,
of walking down the street, and that may happen. I may have to trade her in on a younger model.
it happens. It
Exactly.
happens, man. And you're here. Life is for the living. So do it,
Yeah, yeah,
just keep growing and going. Wrap those leaves around you and keep growing.
exactly. But
Yep.
it's a wonderful thing. So let's talk about, hold on, I lost my train of thought there. Rutabaga moment. Sorry, guys. I have it from time to time. So UP up there in the Upper Peninsula, right? I've been up there,
hmm
and it is so stretched out, so stretched out. How many hypnotherapists are around you up there, Nan?
I know Linda Knight is up here now, so I have a friend. So I don't know. I think there's one up in Marquette as well. Um, I'm not sure. I'm not really sure. I think not too many of us. It's
Yeah.
pretty lonely up here.
And then you contrast that to some of the areas that Sandra has been in to, it's like if you go to Detroit, there's 20 or 30 of them, 20 or 30
Yeah.
hypnotherapists in a concentrated area. And they're all trying to attract the same clients and make their business go as they should. So let's start with Sandra on that. How do you separate that noise?
I think the big thing is that you have to have clarity that there is no such thing as competition in our field. There's only collaboration and support. And so, if we really look to get to know our colleagues and figure out what are they passionate about, what makes them tick, how do why are they here? Like, I mean, obviously in this time with Danielle, we can clearly see that when we meet someone who is, lacking in spark, that this is the place for them to be. And although of course I could help them or Dan could help them, but this is her mission, right? And so for me not to send them to her would be a disservice to them and to me, right? And so, I think just getting to really drill down on our colleagues and finding out what it is that they're so passionate about, who they're really here to serve, and then just matching the right people in the right place. And so when clients, I still occasionally get client calls, or more often I'll have students reach out to me and go, well, this feels like a little beyond my, pay grade right now. Would you take a look at this person? Can I send them to you? And I'll do an intake on them. And I don't even charge for that, right? I'll do a complimentary intake to see where they are and where they need to go. And then I point them out to one of the people that I've trained, or I point them out to a colleague that I know is phenomenal at what they do, right? And so I feel like when we move into this idea that we're here to collaborate, we're here to support one another, to match the right clients and the right people in the right places, then it isn't noise anymore. Instead, it's like these, little hands waving, going, hey, if I can be in service, here I am, right? Hey, if there's anything I can do, I'm over here, right? Hey, I'll also, if it's helpful to you, I do this, right? And so I have never seen any of my colleagues as a competitor in anything. And when I speak about the Hypno Goddesses as a good example, right? Like Randy Light, a lot of people go, wow, you guys do the same thing. And God bless Randy Light. I adore her. And we are not the same. We are not the same. She has an incredible, vast knowledge in how our ecosystem works and the science. I don't know if you guys know this, but she is beautiful scientist when it comes to the earth and the planet and all these things, right? She has so much knowledge in areas that I don't know anything about, right? And we're not the same. And she attracts different clients and likes different kind of work than I do too. And so even when you think you find someone, they're like, oh, these two are exactly, no, we're not. We're unique. And all you have to do is spend 10 minutes with her and I and see that we do similar things. We serve some similar clients, and we're also very dissimilar. And so that just looking for the similarities and the differences.
So, Randy's great. She came up, we had something happen to one of our closing keynote speaker for that second conference. And I got a hold of Randy, and she just jumped right in and really saved us. So she's a hugger. That's one of the things I have to deal with, because we all know Dan is not a hugger.
Up until now,
even now. If my hands are wrapped around somebody, there's a 97% chance they're bleeding, and it's my fault. But yeah, so I'm working on it. I'm working on it, guys. I really, really am. But so looks like we're coming up on
that we have these colleagues that might be in our area and might not be in our area, because nowadays, our market has very little to do with proximity for the most part, right?
Yeah.
And so they may or may not be physically close to us, but the idea of knowing how they're going to serve and what they're going to serve, I think it's really important. One of the gifts that I have is I have a lot of colleagues that I've had as hypno buddies over the years, right? Where maybe they take one of my classes and then I do some training with them, and you get to know them. And I really encourage folks to do that. No one needs a hypnotist more than a hypnotist, right? For the work that we do every day, I say this, I used to train massage therapists back in the day. No one needs a massage therapist more than a massage therapist, right? No one needs a coach more than a coach, right? And so, as we work with other people and we see what they do, we can really then find a place for ourselves, but also then how do we be in service of the community by knowing them and their work better? I just, as we had just talked about, I had just finished doing some work with Kelly von Heidekamp, and her skills are just phenomenal. I mean, she's trained with some of the top people, but she has her own unique protocols that she does with people, right? And how would I have known to connect people to her or get her referrals to the right clients had I not done some sessions with her, right?
Absolutely.
And so, I,
Mhm.
as practitioners, I hope we're all getting out there and we're leaning into our community and taking one another's courses and doing sessions with one another and seeing how that is in support of the greater good of serving others.
So, absolutely. So we're coming up on our time, so we're going to just
Mhm.
do some closing thoughts. So I'm going to start with Danielle. What are your hopes and dreams going into the future for your hypnosis business?
My hopes and dreams going forward, just to help empower people, one at a time, or until I'm ready to do bigger groups, more at a time. Um, that's really all I want, is to help others while I help myself.
Absolutely. So I lost you there on that one, but that's okay. So, and then Sandra, same question. I know you've been doing this a while, but you're that person. You always have a hope. You have a dream, something that you want to move forward with. It's much like my hope and dream of finding that perfect piece of chocolate cake right there. so, so
Well,
what's next?
I appreciate that question. Yeah. So I think what's happening for me next is, as those of you who know me personally know, that I've spent much of my life in the last decade or so caring for. I'm a widow and single mother of my son, and now that he is this booming young man, right? He's taking on the world and doing all sorts of amazing things, right? And I've been caring for my aging mother, who now is in a state where she's being cared for. I'm really looking for more international travel. So I don't know who all listens to your podcast, but if you got some travel, maybe outside the U.S., where you would like someone to come in and support, like I have to tell you, I really am looking for some more international travels as I decide where I go next. Where do I live after the US, right? Like, and so, yeah, so this is exciting. I've got about 2 years before I'll be making a major shift in my physical location. My son goes to an amazing academy here that he'll finish out at the collegiate prep he's at. And then I'm looking for that. So that's my hopes and dreams, is to, my business is 99% virtual. So I get to do what I do forever, wherever I go. And I get to decide where that is. So if you live someplace great, US or outside the US, and you feel like it is the best place to live, how about you send me an invite, and I'll come, and we'll hang out, and I'll explore your area of the world. And so that's it.
There
But
you go.
before we close, Dan, but besides chocolate cake, what else are you hoping and dreaming for yourself?
So for this year, I would really like to see the magazine grow a little bit. I mean, the magazine is being read in about 9 countries. The podcast is being heard in 8 countries. So yeah, I'm concentrating on Hypno World Magazine this year, much more. As you know, I've kind of backed away from client work. I really only work with first responders now, just because for 11 years, that was me. I was in my office. I didn't go anywhere, do anything. I think I went to Hypno Thoughts here and there, and that was like the one conference I went to. But that was it for 11, 12 years. I just saw clients. And then, boom, Jim Kellner and the conference changed all that. So, and of course, we're always going to miss Jim, but he was the first guy I collaborated with, only guy. And now here I am collaborating with Grant Saunders and Amanda Dodd and all these great people. So, and I will say that Sandra is right and Danulle is right. Finding your authentic self and getting out there. Collaboration beats competition every time. If I had the connections I have now in 2012, I probably would be a holistic millionaire. So I make it sound like I'm destitute, I'm living in this shed over here. I'm okay, guys. But so yeah. Anyways, I want to thank the amazing Sandra Grace for coming on here, and of course Danulle. And I'm not even going to attempt your last name.
Danielle.
Danielle. I keep saying Danulle. Why do I keep saying that?
I
It's
know.
It's the Scottish pronunciation. I see your name and I just go, that's Danulle. Over there. It's fine. That's all right. It's good. That's what I am. Yeah. So I hope you guys are happy, healthy, safe, and as always, Joseph has one thing he wants to say. I should show that before Joseph we go away. So, hey, great show. Thanks, Joseph Crown, one of the great guys. So, hey, as always, I'll see you out there.
Love and light.